Willkommen, bienvenue, welcome one and all to another Property Matters. As usual, I'm joined in the virtual studio by the esteemed chairman himself, Hamish McLay of Search and Convey. And today, as our special guest, we have Silas J. Lees of WiggyWam UK. So I'm going to, as usual, mercilessly throw Hamish under the bus and ask him the question, what the hell do you mean by bypass the Bedlam?
Well, it's quite interesting, actually, because if you look in what's going on with the poor property lawyers at the moment, there's a not so much a shambles, but there's a great challenge to do with the information that estate agents are coming out. Do solicitors need to be responsible for it? Does that poor buyer or seller need to get somebody on board with that? That's going on, but there's also so many mixed up parts of the journey when buying a property, because there just aren't the links between them. And it's great to see some, the people who actually come in who are a bit sort of innovative. They're going to take things up and they're going to put them in the right sort of order, working with the right team, because as we well know from so many of the podcasts we've done, teams make such a difference. It makes so much difference as to who you speak to. Now, if you've got one source and you can work everything through, wow, what a total game changer that is.
Wow. All right, Silas, we just need a touch of AI, don't we?
I think that's where everybody thinks it's going, isn't it, Gareth? That AI is going to solve all of our problems.
Everything will be solved.
And we can sit at home with our feet up and reminisce about the good old days.
Hang on, in the 60s, weren't they talking about the world of leisure to come, where we all sit around while robots serve us tea and biscuits and late night drinks? Isn't that where it's going?
Sounds outstanding. Let me know if that's something you're working on, because I could do with one of those in the office.
No. No, I've watched too many Terminator films for that sort of thing. But before Sarah Connor Hove's interview, is there an omnishambles going on?
Well, that's an interesting question. I think the way I look at it is that AI has a place, right? And I don't think AI at this moment can or should replace certain elements of the human interaction and experience. Because I couldn't come on a podcast like this with a computer and have an interaction the way I'm interacting with you guys, right? You guys have got personalities, you've got different ways of doing things. And for me, I think it's about putting the right people in the right positions with the right systems to then drive everything forward. And that can apply in pretty much every business. I mean, I'm the kind of person that if you go into a supermarket and, you get all your shopping together, I won't go and then scan it on a self-checkout, because A, I don't work there, but B, I miss the interaction of somebody there serving you. How are you? Do you have a good day? What's going on? Tell me a little bit about you. That's the sort of thing that I personally enjoy. Whether the younger generation feel the same or not is a different matter. But yeah, I think it's got a place, but shouldn't replace.
Yeah, the younger generation would only truly respond to that if only they could text it to you. Hamish, I've only got the personality I've been programmed by Hamish to have, I'm afraid. So, Hamish, what are we to do?
Well, in fact, we've got a very good opportunity at the moment, because the Law Society, by not speaking to solicitors, came up with some kind of solution to the whole matter. And
a unilateral solution.
Well, unfortunately, no. They didn't speak to the lawyers. Or they did speak to one, and I think because he said, making a comment about the whole form, it was devised for his business model, because he reckoned more money can be made from it. Now, he's the only person that's figured that out, how you do it. But apparently, when he actually announced it in the conference thing yesterday, everybody laughed about it when he made the comment. So I don't think really it's going down to actually say something like that in public and get laughed at for it. I don't think it's the right direction. It's communication. It's communication.
Well, when Juliet, when I quizzed Juliet the other day about this new form that's been suggested put on, she turned purple and went almost apoplectic. I don't think it's particularly favourably been received by the legal community. Am I right?
Well, it's not just the legal community, to be quite honest, because Silas will be able to sort of tell us, because the experience he's had as an estate agent. Never mind all the other experience that he's had, but particularly with that, it's not particularly useful from the estate agent perspective either.
So, Silas, is this form diabolical?
Well, I think from the form is just a form, right? And I had a bit of a revelation about this earlier on another call, and it was talking about this whole experience of everything in the property moving process being siloed. So you've got the estate agency bit, then you've got the conveyancing bit, and you've got the mortgage brokering bit, and you've got the surveying bit, and nobody's really talking across the 4 or 5 different professions, right? And if you've ever read a book like The E-Myth, for example, The E-Myth talks about professional people having an entrepreneurial seizure. Okay, and then they go, oh, I can do this job better, faster, cheaper than my boss or my current firm, or I'm going to go and be self-employed. And I think this is where part of the problems are happening, is that what the uproar that's being faced in the legal profession is legal professionals are used to doing one thing and doing it extremely well, and also not being wrong. They're paid to do the job right. Okay, so now all of a sudden change is being forced upon them in a matter that ordinarily, if you look at the adoption of any new technology or any new thing, you have a bell curve, right? You have your innovators, your early adopters, etc. And with respect to the profession of law, they're probably much further down the bell curve in terms of adopting a new way of doing. So when somebody comes along and says, we've not consulted with you, we don't really care what your opinion is, not in these words, but here's a new piece of paperwork, you'll put it into your systems and you'll make it work, I can understand why there's uproar.
Well, what a to-do. What is going to be the next? Do you think, like hips and so many other things, this will be confined to the annals of history, or is it going to take off?
Well, allegedly, the Law Society has now decided, after the furore it created, that it would be advisable to discuss the matter with to actually sort of see what should be possibly included there. What I think the driving force behind it, to a certain extent, particularly by the form that was created, was actually to try and suck in solicitors, so they're actually pulled in at the very, very start. Now, of course, you mentioned it earlier, Gareth. This goes back. The big challenge is to suck in your solicitor at the start. That's going to cost more than the home information packs cost. And one of the reasons why that was dumped was because of, I say dumped, there was some good aspects about it. You have the technology to carry it then. But basically that was dumped because the estate agents felt it was actually preventing people from having a look on the market, checking out what was going on in the market. Because if you've got to pay out a massive great sort of sum of money, it's not going to do you any good. However, if somebody can actually, if they create a form which is usable by those members that are involved in the whole discussion that Silas just mentioned, I mean, that's got to be a winner. And it's got to help both the buyer and the seller, because it's basically seamless at the moment. We've just got too many layers, and you have to bounce, crack your way through one layer, then you go sideways to get through another. Whereas with this one, you create a scene, so you've got the right people, you're working with the right team, and that to me has got to be a winner, surely.
Sounds to me like you need an overall project manager who can effectively manage the interactions between everybody.
However, this is where not so much AI, but this is where systems come into it. And you can actually pull so much of this together if the right people are connected, because you get the human interaction from the right people at the right time. And wow, does that that really does help so much. But it's the right people. I think what we've got, particularly when we actually sort of look at the factory methods that we've employed at the moment, the way it's going, is not putting in the right people. It's benefiting the guy, the panels that have set the whole thing up. They're making loads of loot out of it. And I think it was something I was reading. 192 billion pounds was spent on data development in 2022. That was on data development. None of that money. Look at 192 billion worldwide. Wouldn't it be a good idea to get some human interaction with that?
I think you're asking too much there. Silas, are we spending too much time pottering around looking at data and not actually doing anything and interacting with each other? Is that what this is?
I think there's, again, a place for everything. Not want to give a too diplomatic an answer to this, but I think the real solution is in making that data profitable. And that's not about selling data in the background because you're tracking people all over the internet and, all that nefarious agenda. What I'm talking about is in any housing transaction, there's a number of bits of data that has got to be pulled together, right? And at the moment, that happens too late on in the process. So why not pull all that data together right at the very start of the transaction, which is kind of what Hamish was alluding to earlier, and having the solicitor have some investment in the transaction earlier. Now, everybody pushes back and goes, we can't do that because cost. Okay, people won't pay for searches up front. They won't pay for all the information to be assembled up front. They won't pay for the solicitors to get involved up front. But that is not true, because if you go north of the border to Scotland, you're already finding that homeowners will invest upfront money into the creation of what is effectively a HIP or some kind of pack and an investment in the services of the estate agent to help sell their property. And there is no reason why we can't do that in England and Wales, other than the mindset of the person who's usually first through the door, which of course is the estate agent.
So you're thinking it needs a bit of a mindset shift?
People have described it as a paradigm shift. And I think actually, there are so many problems that can be solved. Here's the way I look at it. So many problems can be solved for both the estate agents and the conveyancers, but it's not going to happen when you're at war with one another.
This has always been the way. The us and the them always puts up a Chinese wall between you, which means that you can't progress, not properly.
100%. Now, everybody I speak to, Gareth, and I that has moved house in the last 4 or 5 years, I ask them, did you have a good experience? And the answer 99% of the time is no.
99% of the time is no, it almost cost me a divorce.
Right. And so my follow-up question is, if you could have paid another 500, 1,000, 1,500 quid to pay away the pain, would you do it?
Oh, in a New York minute.
Right. And that's the solution. Everybody earns more because the client will pay for convenience.
Yeah, but the perception is, I think, it's almost like an extra tax on the home mover, not the homeowner, the home mover. And with this, everybody trying to look at all the hidden costs of everything. But I think they should champion this one. I think you're quite right, Hamish. Do you think there'll be a variety of people who would take this up? Absolutely.
I think the paradigm shift is a good one, because what happens, and in fact, it doesn't mean to be a paradigm. It's a little bit more than just a sort of the light bulb. It's a little bit more than that. However, what we realise, and of course, Silas didn't actually put this in when he was explaining it, but the poor old guy that's buying the property has got to pay anyway. He's going to pay most of that money, in fact, sometimes more than that money, to go down the route where, no, I'm not paying anything up front. Because of that, they're really going to sort of lose out. They lose out in time. They lose out, as Silas said, they lose stress. Because if you're putting the right people together, now this is one of the things which is very, very important. Now, the longer it takes, and I know this because we have challenges with certain councils, and unfortunately we get asked too late to get our information in. We should, the conveyancing solicitors should ask us sooner, but they don't. They wait till too many things have happened, then sign us in, and it's fine until you find out. Like one of the particular councils you're dealing with, as we said about the other day, it's 50 working days turnaround. That's 10 weeks.
That's just
crazy. And the mortgage offer and everything's gone to pot by then. However, if you know that that's going to happen, there's things you can actually do to sort that out so you don't go into a situation. So there's really, if you like, speaking and getting the right people involved to start off with, and people do need to switch around. And it's like anything that we do for change purposes. I mean, look at the way the government got us, everybody just to sit in a house for weeks on end without sort of going to meet anybody.
Yeah, but that was by waving a very large carrot with a big meat hook at the end of it. Look, Silas, before I pass back to Hamish to sum up, is there any hope? It sounds like the two sides are still warring. You need to declare some sort of mutual interested pacts for a moment, don't you? Just so they can see that they've got mutual interest together.
Well, I think the hope is the fact that the current system is not working. On no level is it working for anybody. It's not working for the estate agents. It's not working for the conveyancers. It's not working for the home buyers and sellers. I have looked at multi-million-pound turnover law firms that are losing money because they are charging £1,500 for a leasehold conveyance, and it is costing them £1,800 in time to transact it. I am speaking to estate agents who are, with respect, their directors are earning less out of their business than a certain portal is charging in subscription fees every single month. And people don't realize that. So you have to ask the question, when does everything completely break down or not be worth it for the respective parties involved? And
I think you need to look at why people are signing up to this aforementioned portal.
Right. Absolutely. And the argument would be that there is no better alternative at the moment, or that's what people think. But
yes.
Then it's that paradigm shift of, you can have this, which is the equivalent of one member of staff in your branch every single month, or you can have all of this solves your conveyancing bottlenecks, your ID and AML verification, your source of leads from your network, etc. All of that is available, but it requires estate agents to put their hand up and say, yes, I want to be involved in a better way of doing things.
Yeah, I think that may be the issue. Hamish, would you take us home, please?
Right. Well, I think, as we sort of say so often, what we're able to do with our particular podcast is try and actually educate probably a bit over the
educate them.
Try and make people aware of what solutions there are, and giving them a better idea of what they can do. Ultimately, it's going to be their choice. It's the buyers and sellers, and many, I think people are being talked into this, particularly the system, which needs to be changed. The buyer or the seller should be able to make their minds up about who they choose to work with. There don't need to be any referral fees involved with this. Just keep the whole thing nice, straight and simple. Everybody, as Silas says, everybody makes the money that they deserve because of the contribution they're making to it.
Yeah, but it's a matter of everybody agreeing to this new paradigm. I think that's where we rest. It only remains for me to thank, of course, Hamish McLay for putting this together, and of course our esteemed guest Silas J. Lees of WiggyWam UK. In this crazy world, we have to start bloody working together towards a greater goal, other than just making everything the cheapest, lowest common denominator. And I'll leave you with that. Wish everybody a wonderful weekend, and of course, good mental health. Bye-bye now.